this session is all thanks to somebody who's actually who's attending today, and that is Izzy Bartley who's from the Leeds Museum and Galleries. She's the digital learning officer. She messaged the Digital Course Network and said, how about a session about the options that are not specifically Google Analytics 4 and what else is out there? So we know what's happening, and I'm going to talk about that. But what other options are there? Are there simpler tools? Are there things that people already have in their organizations? And that's what we're going to go through today. So thank you, Izzy. So anybody else who's got ideas about what sessions you'd like us to run, get in touch, and this could happen to you. So the title of this one is Google Analytics will start working next year. Here are your options. And it's exactly that. So this is the agenda today. We're going to look at what is happening and why. We're going to have 3 questions to ask your organization. We're then going to look at privacy, consent and compliance, have a little break, and then we're going to look at the alternatives. So the alternative to Google Universal Analytics. We're going to then look at the next steps, and if we've got time, we're going to answer some of your questions as well. So what I'd like you to do and put in the chat is just some answers to this question. Why are website analytics tools useful? So you might use them already. Any ideas? Just stick it in the chat and we'll have a little chat about that. Oh, wow, wonderful. Straight on it. I'm loving these answers already. Okay. To measure how well our website is performing against our targets. Wonderful. To track how well our marketing campaigns is working, how many people take action from it. To gauge user behavior. To help work out who's coming to your site, why and what they do there. Oh, beautiful, Rosie. For reporting to funders. Excellent, Izzy. Jill says, help to find new audience based on the current audience. Excellent. To work out what content works, who our audience are. Yes. Measure website performance engagement. Beautiful. Monitor success. I mean, you keep going. This is brilliant. Wow. Look at all those answers. Fantastic. You're all over it. This is brilliant. So it can answer questions for you is the answer. Look at that. Last one there. Really going for it. User behavior, statistics, demographics. Brilliant. And to identify problems. Thank you, Andy. Yes. So it can answer some of these questions that you've identified and some more as well. So it's things like, where are my users coming from? We've built a website. How did they find us? It's really useful to know that kind of stuff. How are my users behaving on my website? So we've got our lovely website doing all these sort of things. We've built it specifically for objectives that we want people to do. So are they doing it? So are they taking the actions that we want them to? We can track all this with using website analytics. And then how is my website performing as well? So is it fast enough? Is it, do certain devices have issues when they're using the website? So it can inform all of these things and much, much more. So that's why we use analytics tools for our websites, because it can do all these things. And it can really help us as organizations to see all of those things, if we're on track, how powerful our marketing campaigns are performing, whether it's our website's performing as it should do as well. So we're now going to look at what is happening and why. So what has prompted this big discussion and change around Google Analytics? So there are now 2 versions of Google Analytics. And I can tell from just looking at these beautiful icons that you can immediately identify the differences between them. And that is one of the core issues, is that Google Analytics have announced that a new version is out and they are retiring their older version. But they're called the same thing. They look like the same thing. There are hundreds of articles on the web, online and on the internet that talk about Google Analytics, just as Google Analytics. So how do you differentiate the 2 of them? So the first version, and the one installed on a lot of websites across the world, is the one on the left. So that was launched in April 2005. The second version, so the new version, Google Analytics 4 it's called, was launched in October 2020. Although it's only started to become aware, more people are becoming aware of it now, but it was actually launched in 2020 and it's slowly being developed. It's been developed on since then and it's getting better and better. Some would say it's not quite there yet still, but it's the #1 focus for Google is this version on the right-hand side. And we call that Google Analytics 4. Now, another question is, why was it called Google Analytics 4 when there's just been one version before? And that's because the other version has slowly been developed over time. So it's based on the technology from 2005, and it's been iteratively developed since then. First, there was Urchin. So Urchin was a company that Google bought in 2005, and they started to develop Google Analytics from that point onwards. Then there was Classic Analytics that was released in 2009. And then there was Universal Analytics in 2014. Now, the last version, 2014, is the version that's installed on most websites. So it's gone through all those different levels, and the last is the third one. So the third, Urchin, Classic Analytics, Universal Analytics. So it's Google Analytics. You could call it Google Analytics, sorry. But what we're going to do for the context of the rest of this webinar is talk about it as Google Universal Analytics. Okay, so when I talk about Universal Analytics, that is what I'm referencing. If I mention Google Analytics 4, I'll be talking about the one on the right-hand side. So the new version has been developed for quite a few different reasons. And we'll talk about those a bit further on in this webinar, but there is a changing landscape when it comes to privacy online, and Google are preparing for that. So the technology of the old version doesn't work and won't work in the future. So Google is planning ahead for that. And they announced earlier this year that these things are going to happen. So on the 1st of July, 2023, Google Universal Analytics, it will just stop collecting new data. So if you've got installed on your website and it's been collecting data for all historical data, it will stop collecting any from that date onwards. Your historical data will still be available at that point. From the 1st of January 2024, Universal Analytics, it will be fully shut down. So you won't be able to access the interface anymore, and there will be no historical data anymore. So this is the situation that's happening. This is why we need to prepare for alternatives and how to get that data out of it as well. So if you need it and you rely on this data, you need to look at alternatives, and you need to start preparing for that right now. So a big foot will come down, squish that. Google Analytics 3 will be gone, Universal Analytics, and then they will cry and say goodbye to a good old friend. So I've got a question for you, and we're going to use a different system this time. Lovely emoji there. What we're using here is Slido. So this should load up for me now, he says, and it's not. So just bear with me a second. Over. So this should display a little thing for us to use. It's not, it's got a blank screen. Just bear with me a second. I'm going to log back in. Okay. It doesn't want to work. So what we're going to use is, I'm just going to use the inbuilt poll as well instead, set those up. So I'll launch this poll. It will pop up on your screen now. So what the question is here is, do you currently use Google Universal Analytics? So the older version that we're just talking about there, the one that's been around since 2005, do you use it at the moment? Oh, thank you. All these answers coming in, great. Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, let's give it a couple more seconds, and then we're going to stop. Fantastic. Okay. All right, I'm going to end the poll in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the poll now. Let me share the results with you. So what we've got is 73% of you say yes. We've got 13% say no, and 13% say don't know. So a vast majority of you do have analytics. For the no's, if you just want to pop in the chat, is it because you use something else, or is it that you've chosen to use nothing at all? If you don't mind popping in the chat. So those 13% no's, is it a choice that you've made to not use anything? Or are you using something else? Okay, so we'll have a look at those answers as they come in. So I've got 3 questions for you for your organization when you're thinking about measurement and you're thinking about using tools such as this. I'm going to go through those now. So the first one is, what do you need to know? So when you're approaching at website analytics, or any analytics for that matter, what do you need to know? It's the question you should ask your organization. And some examples of that would be, I need to know the top level number of website visitors. I just need to know that top level number. How many people are coming to our website? I need to know how well my marketing campaigns are doing. So we mentioned that at the beginning. Some of you added that in. We also need to know, where are my users getting stuck on the website? And what content platforms, what content performs best or worse for me? So these are kind of things that analytics can answer, and that's the stuff that you might need to know. So you've already had this discussion internally, you need to know that. The second question you need to ask is, why do you need it? And who is the audience? Now, Izzy hit the nail on the head straight away with this one. For funders. So we have analytics on our website because we need to tell the funders how many website visitors we get on our website. That's completely valid, isn't it? You need to know that information, so that's how you get it. And another option of who your audience is, it might be senior leadership in your organization. You need to report back to your senior leadership on top level numbers against your objectives. There might be some external partners that you're working with as well. So you need to show them how many clicks you're seeing from your website to theirs, how their content is performing, or like their shows that they're putting on in your organization. You need to share that with them. It could be your internal teams as well. So you need to know how the website's performing. So you need to pass some information over to your IT team or something like that, or developers, to say, these are issues we're seeing. So that's, think about your audiences. They're going to be very, very different. And there might be multiple audiences that you have for the analytics that you need to collect. And then lastly, why do you need it? It's because we always have. That's a big one, is that we've just collected that data and carry on collecting that data just because we always have. Now, this is a real opportunity to change. All of this that's going on, these massive changes we're seeing with technology and privacy, this is the opportunity to change for you. So that leads us on to our third question, is, what is your organizational vision? So if your organizational vision is, we believe in being transparent and ethical with data, should you be collecting data for certain things? Should you be sending information about your users to servers in different countries? Things like that. So these are questions you need to ask, and match what you're doing against your organizational vision. So for us, as the Digital Culture Network, we are here, our mission statement, our vision statement is to develop and increase digital skills and maturity of the arts and culture sector in England. So we are very, very specific about what we need to do and how we need to track that. So for us, we have to define what are the right metrics for us. So we went through a process of that. What are the right metrics for us to track that? What tools can provide that information? Now, we have chosen to use Google Analytics for this, but we could have used other tools. And we're going to look at the different options later on. And it's something you should have a think about with your organizational vision. Does what you're doing when it comes to analytics and tracking match up back up to that? And you should loop it back around a few times. So for us, we've chosen a tool that gives us geographic information, so we can filter out the rest of the world and just look at England, because that's where we are and that's where our focus should be. We may have hundreds of thousands of website visitors, so we could be reporting back to different organizations or different funders and things like that and say, oh, we've got hundreds of thousands of website visitors. But our vision and what we're here to do is actually England. So a lot of that doesn't matter. So that might be a nice secondary thing that's happening, is that arts and culture organizations in other countries is being upskilled by the work we're doing. it's not actually what we're here to do. So we needed a tool that can filter those things out. And it's looking at the functionality of the tools that you've got available to you and matching that up to the need. So as you're going through these questions, I recommend going through it a few times. So do it once, and as you look at these questions, just work through them, and then just do it again. So ask yourself, what do you need to know? And think about those. The next question, why do you need it? So we need to know these things because of our funders, and does that match our organizational vision? Now, some of the things won't work in that way. It's like you still have to provide those bits of data. But for the stuff you're collecting, does it match up to what you're doing? So go through the questions, loop back round, and then go through them again, and then see what comes out, and have a discussion with your internal teams. And if you need any help with this, if you want to have a one-to-one chat with us in the Digital Culture Network, you can do. So just get in touch with us through the website or email us, and we'll help you through this process as well. So this is a lot of what I do with organizations, is sit down and work through this for them, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you use the right tools, be more efficient, automate things, get the right data. So the next section we're just going to talk about now is about privacy, consent, and compliance. And I have talked about this stuff in the past. So I did a webinar last year. It looked like this, and Hayden's going to pop a link to it in the chat, so you can look at that as well. If you've not watched that, just please do, and just let me know your thoughts on it. But essentially, it's the changing landscape to analytics and tracking and the ability to advertise to different users online. And there are massive changes happening, and I'll go into detail about that in that webinar. But we're seeing an increased awareness of privacy and increased need for privacy as well. So currently, a lot of the advertising and tracking technology uses cookies. And cookies are just a little bit of information that's just saved on your device. So when you visit a website, you'll usually see if it's being compliant in that way, you'll see a pop-up notice asking you to accept cookies, and they give you the cookies. And that puts a little bit of information on your browsing device. So it could be your phone or your computer or your tablet. So then it can do different things. So there's different types of cookies. So one is the functionality of a website. So if you go back to a website and you've logged in the past and you want it to save you as a login, that's using cookies to do that. But there are other side of cookies, which is around the tracking. So if you've looked at a pair of trousers on the internet, and then those trousers start following you around the internet as a little advert, I do reference this quite a lot, but that's using cookies to do that. So it's identifying you as a user and then passing that information elsewhere. And we'll look into that, as I said, in more detail in that webinar. And it's about the changes and what's happening and how technology companies such as Apple and an impact on the way Facebook works and things, is that you now have to explicitly ask those things. So you've got to allow these apps, you've got to allow these devices to track you. That wasn't the case in the past, but it is now. And a timely article that's come out from One Further is this one. So again, we're going to link to that. It will be in our resources as well, but it's all about cookies and what cultural organizations need to know. So I visit many, many websites just personally and as part of this job. And I'm, as the data analytics tech champion, I'm always looking at what people are doing and how. And for you to be able to add cookies to somebody's device as a website owner, you need to be compliant with the latest rules. And there are GDPR rules for how you manage cookies. And you may have a pop-up banner that asks for cookies, but you might already be adding cookies before they've accepted. And we're going to look at, and please read this article because it goes into great depth into that. But to be compliant with GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, you need to do these things, and not many websites do. So you need to do this for a start. You need to ask people if they want to opt into cookies and tracking, and specifically what types of tracking as well. So you might see some websites ask if you accept necessary cookies, performance cookies and tracking cookies as well for analytics and advertising cookies. So they're split out. But all others, like our website, it just asks cookies in general, and we don't load anything until that happens. So the second point is you need to be clear about why they're being used and what they're for. Thirdly, you need to, before you start tracking anything, before you put a cookie on anybody's device, it needs to opt in first. And this is where most organizations are not compliant, is that they'll have a cookie banner that says accept or decline, and then options about an explanation about how people can opt out. But they'll start tracking you as soon as you hit the website. And the fourth point is give people the ability to change their mind at a later time. So some websites that are compliant, such as this one, this is the Royal Academy website. So they're using a consent management platform, and it's like an advanced level of cookies, this one. So if you hit the Royal Academy website on a new device that you've not been on there before, you'll get this pop-up message. And you cannot do anything. You cannot access the website until you choose two of these options. So one is to accept all, just happily accept all, or you can manage the settings. And if you manage the settings, it will then pop up with these. So as I said, there's necessary, there's preference, preferences, and then there's performance on there as well. So you can toggle them on and off. So you have complete control. This is fully compliant. It's not loading anything until you've chosen one of those options. So do check that out. So based on that, I'm going to ask another question of you. Is your cookie banner on your website compliant? So based on what we know, now these are anonymous answers, so I don't know who's saying them. Is it compliant on your website? Yeah, I imagine a lot of people won't know this because it's quite a technical thing that's happening. So please feel free to just say don't know. Brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to end it there. And then I'll share the results as well. So we've got 19% of you are saying yes. So that's amazing. I'd love to see these websites and like how you're managing it and what choices you made to get there. That's brilliant. 28% of you say no, and then 53% said don't know. So it's to be expected. As I say, it's quite a complex thing, this. But again, if you want help defining where, first start exploring whether you are compliant, and then for those no's, how to be compliant. So have a look at that article for a start. This whole change to Google Universal Analytics is a real opportunity to make that change, to be compliant. Now, some people will say, yes, but I'm going to lose some data. But you're losing the right data and you are compliant. And please, as I say, look at that article for one further. Loads of information on there, and it's in depth, really, really interesting. So there we go. Thanks for listening to all a bit about the compliance. We're going to have a little short break now. Just 2 minutes. I'm going to stop talking so you can absorb what we've said so far. And if you've got any questions, just add those into the Q&A, and we'll get to those at the end. But after the little break, we're going to look at the alternatives to Google Universal Analytics. Okay, that was 2 minutes, I think. Brilliant. Okay. So now we're going to crack on and we're going to look at the alternatives to Google Universal Analytics. So we know some of those dates. I'm going to go through some more key dates later for you. So we're going to run over that again, so don't worry. And as I said, the resources for this, a recording of this webinar will be available for you. So you can rewatch any of this, hopefully from tomorrow. You'll get an email with all that information. So when we think about alternatives to Google Universal Analytics, and this is what Izzy prompted, is that it's quite a complex thing, Google Universal Analytics. And those questions we're asking, a response to that is, what do you need? What do you actually need? And a lot of organizations are just doing things for the sake of it. They've got it on because they think they should, but is that the right option for you? So we're going to look at 3 options now. So the first one is a very controversial one, but a very powerful stance, is your option as an alternative is nothing. And some organizations may choose to do this. It might align to their organizational vision, and what they stand for is that actually we don't ever want to track anybody. Now, there are certain things that would mean, and you have to be aware of, is that you might not be able to track how your website's performing, so you'll not know where the problems are, or thinking about your audiences for the data that you're sharing. Do you actually need to give some data back to some funders, and how can you get that information? So it's still valid, and we're going to look at the second option is looking at some other tools that you might already have, but this is a stance that you could have, and it's a very powerful one. But ask yourself, do you really need any of the data at all? And if so, why? If privacy is a core part of your vision statement, maybe you shouldn't be tracking anybody. And if you don't look at Google Universal Analytics now, so you've had it installed on your website since 2005, and you're not looking at it now, what actually will change? What will you do to change, to actually make the most of it now? You'd have to commit to that as well. So it's another consideration to have. The second option is an existing tool. So what do you already have in your organization? You might have things that can do the things that you need. So linking back to what you need and who needs it, you might have a tool that already gives you that. So there's things like ticking away, just without things like server logs for your website. So you might be able to access this information through some websites have a cPanel, it's called. So it's like the back end of a website, and they can use things like all stats. So it's giving you the data, it's giving access to the server log. So it's nothing else you have to install on your website. It's already ticking away and giving that information. You could get the amount of visitors, the amount of page views from that. And that might be all you need to report back to funders, for example. Depending on the platform you use, there might be analytics inbuilt. So for WordPress or Squarespace, for example, they might have statistics that you can access that are already part of that. So you might not have to do anything. You might be already collecting the data you need for what you need to do. You might be collecting data from audience surveys as well, and that might give you what you need. So again, it's back to what you need to report on. Can you survey your audiences and do it that way, instead of having a tool collecting information about your users? And you could do some usability testing as well. So if the problem is how the website works, can you do some in-person or online usability testing with certain groups at certain times to get to the core problem, if there is any? And the third option is what we're going to look at now. After this is a new tool. And if you are going to get a new tool, have a think about what functionality does the tool need. So it could be, for example, getting data in and out. So you might want to import data in from your current analytics tool. So from Google Universal Analytics, you might want to get that into your new tool. So you've got the historical data, or it might be from different sources as well that you need to match up. And then on the other side is how can you get the data out again? So does the tool give you the ability to get the data out? So I work with organizations quite a lot to use Google Analytics with Google Data Studio, which is a visualization tool. So they can work with each other to pass the data from one to the other, and it can export it out. So it's a consideration for any tool you're going to look at. does it give you the functionality you need? Another one is the retention of data and the control of that. So where does that data go? So it's been collected by these different platforms. Where does it actually go? And you may need that data to stay in the European Union, or you might need to stay on your own servers. Now, can the tool do that? And can you control how long the data is controlled for? So these are core considerations to have for any new tool. Again, EU data storage. So I mentioned earlier on, Google Analytics 4 currently will send your data to the United States. Is that a problem for you? Fourth is integrations. So there might be other tools that you're using, such as advertising tools or what you have with your online shop. Does it integrate with those as well? So does it pass the data from your online shop into the tool? Do those integrations exist? So have a think about that. Look at the functionality of the tools you're going to look at. I'm going to show some examples, some like-for-like alternatives in a minute. And then we've got the reporting. Can it report on the stuff you need? It might have inbuilt functionality to do that, or you might want to use the export functionalities to get all that out. So I'm going to look at some use cases now, just kind of to set the scene for how you might approach those questions and which of those three options will work for you. So use case number one is we need to know the sticking points of the website user journey. So I think some people at the very beginning were, this is why website analytics are important. So what you could use away from Google Universal Analytics is things like Hotjar. So that will track how your users move through your website. It will give you heat maps. It will give you screen recording as well. I've got a couple of screenshots to show you in a second. An alternative to that, very similar tool, is from Microsoft. It's called Clarity. Do exactly the same thing. Hotjar's got some extra functionality for feedback and pop-ups and things like that. Clarity is more around tracking how people interact with the site. So for Hotjar, and again, we'll put links to this in the resource, so don't worry about copying everything down now. There's a free version of it that it records 35 sessions a day, which is, a session is when someone visits your website, whizzes around, does multiple things, and then leaves. Only 35, so it's a very small number. But if you are a non-profit organization, you can get the business account for free, so you don't have to pay a penny, which is really good. Alternative with Microsoft Clarity, it's free and it's unlimited. So your choice with those two things. There are differences in what they provide, and some may prefer the interface of one over the other. I'm just going to show you what they look like now. So for Hotjar, we have the heat map ability. So it will record and collect data about your users and then see what are the hot points of people clicking. So if it is the use case that we're talking about of how people are interacting with the website, how they're moving to the website, and where they're getting stuck, this is really good for that kind of stuff. It's also got the screen recording as well. So you can play these back of these sessions of people moving around, a little mouse moving around, or how they're scrolling with their finger and on mobile devices. And it's really good for seeing where people are stopping and thinking. The other element of Hotjar is that you can ask a survey as well, a survey question, which is really powerful because you might look at all this data and go, oh, right, people are getting stuck here, but you don't actually know the user intent. You don't know what they're there to do. So that's really good because you can ask the question. At a certain point, you can have a little thing that pops up at the bottom and goes, did you find what you're looking for today? You know, or did you get stuck at any point? So you can ask those little qualitative data points that you can collect at that, which is really useful to inform the overarching data strategy that you've got there. So Microsoft Clarity is a very similar tool, but it doesn't have the surveying facilities. So it's got the heat maps where people are clicking, and then it's got the other data points as well. So heat maps, screen recording, and this stuff. So you'll see here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me just zoom into this a little bit. Yeah, is that we've actually got information that you would collect in Google Universal Analytics as well, which is how many individual users are coming to your website. So using a tool like this is giving you loads of stuff about the user experience. but it's also giving you those kind of top level stats that you might need to report on. So how many users are, how many sessions, how many times people coming back. And this one that is quite unique for clarity is rage clicks. When someone's getting stuck on a website and keeps clicking the button multiple times because they're so angry with it, which I think is quite funny. The next use case is we need to know when users complete core actions and purchases. So this is going back to what I was saying earlier on that option 3. It is all about integrations for this. So you might have data that's coming in from maybe an online shop or a ticketing system you've got, and you want to see the revenue that's generated against where these people come from. And that's where universal analytics has been quite useful for most organizations. So the new version that you're looking at, so whatever tool you're looking at next, and it could be Google Analytics 4, it could be one of the others, can it do the things that you need? Can it pass information from your website as it goes through the checkout, goes through into a ticketing system, for example, and then pass data out? So some of them can do that. So we work with many organizations in arts and culture, and they use systems such as this. We've got Spectrix, TicketSolve, Tessitura. There are many, many more as well. So can those, can the platform you're looking at pass data from them into analytics, and can you report on those things? So you can see that your marketing campaigns are being successful. You can see what is driving these people, how often they come back to the website before making purchases, loads of really interesting information. Can the tool you're looking at give you that? And this is where things like Google Analytics 4 can give that information. So that it's been built for this kind of use case of passing transactional information through. And if your organization doesn't use these kind of things, it doesn't have a shop, it doesn't have ticket sales, you might need to track core actions. And can the tool that you're looking at give you that? So for an example, a dance organization, they're just doing performances and things like that. All the sales are done elsewhere on other websites. What can they track on their website? Can they track interactions with the videos that they've got on the website? Can they track interactions for people signing up to their newsletter? And it's thinking about your audiences of your website. Why is the website there to serve them? And then what actions do you want them to do when they get there? This is just a quick screenshot of the Google Analytics 4 interface when it is their events. So it's a very different way of tracking users and tracking actions on the website. And that's why they've made the shift. So the older version of Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, that tied everything to a page view. So somebody had to be looking at a page on your website, and then you could track an action on it. So how much time they spent on that page. Whereas with Google Analytics 4, it's all about events. And it's a completely different way of tracking actions on your website and interactions. And you can choose to pass whatever you want. And that's why it's very powerful. You could set up your own events, and we're not going to go into detail about that now, but please do get in touch if you want me to explain that a bit more. There are going to be more sessions on Google Analytics 4, and we'll go into more detail about all of that. But in this example, you can see that we've got file downloads, we've got people watching our videos, and this is data from our own website, from the Digital Culture Network. So use case 3 is we really need to easily share how we're performing across the organization. And this is all about getting the data out and into something else. So for example, Google Analytics 4 works really well with Data Studio. You can pass that information across. So this is an example of an organization I'm working with called Chapel FM, and we're using their Google Analytics 4 data, and we've set the things up for them to be tracked. So their core actions are for people to listen to their broadcasts on their website and the recordings of their broadcast. So this is a way of taking the information, passing it into Google Analytics 4, then getting it out again, visualizing it in Data Studio, and then this can be shared across the whole organization. So this is just a link that they can share. It's not touching the core data. It's not the interface of Google Analytics. It's actually just this, and people can interact with this. They can click things on the map. It's fully interactive, and it's just a link that they can use. So it's a really good way of sharing stuff internally, and look at the tool you're looking at. What can it do these things? So I'm next going to have a look at some like-for-like replacements. Then we'll look at what you're going to do next and how you'd like help, and then we'll go to the Q&A as well, because I can see there's quite a few questions in there as well. So here are some like-for-like replacements for Google Universal Analytics. So the older version that's going to disappear next year. These are some like-for-like replacements. So these do and report in very, very similar ways. And there's 4 options here for you. There are many more as well, but these were the top ones that I've came across and looked at and interacted with and tried out as well. So first up is one called Fathom. And what Fathom is a privacy-first website analytics platform. So they use no cookies at all. So they track users in a different way. Their servers are in the European Union. And what you can do is import your universal analytics data. So you can get the data that's all your historical data from way back all the way to 2005, the maximum, and you can bring that in, which is quite powerful and quite useful if you need that data, whether you need it or not. So with the historical data you have in universal analytics, there are ways to get it out, and I think we're going to share some of that in the resources, and over the next few months we'll look at alternative ways as well. Is that you can download individual reports from it, and you can use they're called connectors. So one of them is called Supermetrics. That's an organization that creates connectors. So you can pull the data out and save it somewhere else, and it can do it in blocks of 6 months at a time. So it's a bit labor intensive having to do that, but you can do it. With these tools that we're looking at here, it will just pull the whole lot through, which is great. A second option is one called Matomo. So this is a very popular option, this one. So it does use cookies, but there is another version of it that has a cookieless option. So depending on how you configure it, you can do it. Again, it can import analytics data. Sorry, I meant to mention about Fathom is that there is a cost. So it's £11 per month, but you own that data. So instead of it going off to somebody else's server and Google using it, for example, Google using it for their marketing and understanding and everything, this is your data and it's 100% yours. The same with Matomo if you're self-hosting it as well. So you can host this on your own servers and it's free. Now there is some configuration for that, so you might need to get developers involved, or you can host it on their servers for £17 a month. So from £17 a month. Now these costs are all based on the volume of traffic that you're getting to your website. The third option is Plausible. Again, that doesn't use cookies, so privacy first. European Union servers, and then again, you can import the universal analytics data. And our fourth option, surprise, surprise, is Google Analytics 4. So this one, it cannot import the old data from universal analytics. So because of the way it's structured, completely new technology, completely new way of tracking, and all the benefits that go along with that, it means it's just completely incompatible with your historical data. So you cannot pass data from one to the other, you cannot bring that in. So whatever you start with Google Analytics 4, you start with now, and that's it. It's got other things and lots of other benefits that we'll link to in the resources, but there's things like consent mode. So with the tracking cookies and things like that, it's got some abilities to track users that don't accept in a different way. That's sometimes a bit controversial, depending on your thoughts on that. But if you are a larger organization or someone who really needs to use this data, it's got a thing called BigQuery, which is a data warehouse. So it can pass the data up into a data warehouse, and then you can manipulate, combine it with other data sets. It's quite an advanced level thing to do, but if you want to chat about that stuff, please do get in touch and we'll talk through that. So those are only some examples. There are plenty more as well. So just wanted to go through this last bit about planning your next steps, and then we'll just get through to those questions as well. So here are your key dates. So things to do before, well, you've got 2 weeks to do it, if possible, if you have time. Number one is define your measurement plan. So go through those 3 questions. What do you need to know and why? And then on the back of that, you might go, oh, we've already got this data here, we've got this data here. Or actually, we need a new tool that's going to give us far more data than we've already got. So before then, if you need year-on-year analysis, so next year you want to look back on this year, you need to set it up before the 1st of July. So we've got 2 weeks. You might need to install things on your website, and you can run them in parallel to Google Universal Analytics. So you can have that running on your website as it currently is, and your new tool as well. So it'll be putting a bit of script on your website. That's what you need to do. And again, we're here to help. Between the 1st of July and the 30th of June next year is run it in parallel. So Universal Analytics that you may already have on your website, run it in parallel with your new tool. So they're both collecting data. And then you can slowly transition from one to the other. So your new tool might require some training. And again, that's something that we can help with, or we can point you in the right direction. So please do get in touch. And by the end of 30th of June, just move all your regular reporting, especially if you're using a data visualization tool, such as Data Studio, things like that. So when it comes to next year, the 1st of July, we've got to move everything away from Universal Analytics. So you're not going to use that anymore because the data is not going to be fresh. You're not going to get any new data in from that point. You need to remove all the script that's on your website because it's just redundant. It might slow down your website slightly, but it's just not doing anything anymore. So remove that. And again, I expect a flurry of support cases next year at this point, going, how do I do this? And we're here to help. So happy to do that. But you can advise your developers or your agency to do that for you at that point. So just mark these dates now. And then before the 1st of January, export the useful historical data from Universal Analytics. And there are going to be ways to do that. There are options at the moment, but there's not an easy thing that you can just go, I'm going to download everything. That doesn't exist at the moment. We're hoping it will do. And then shed a tear and wave goodbye to an old friend because it'll be gone forever. You'll not be able to log in anymore. Goodbye, old friend. So I've got another question for you. Last question is, what are your next steps? What would you like to do next? So you've got 3 options. I want to do it myself. So I want to make some changes. I want to implement a new tool. I want to advise my developer or agency. Or I want someone just to do it for me. So you've got 3 options there. I'm going to talk about next steps after that. So we've got an even split at the moment. Okay, I'm going to stop it in a second. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we've got 32% of you said, I want to do it myself and learn along the way. Secondly, I want to advise my developer or agency. That's 42%. And then 26% said, I wanted someone to do it for me. Brilliant. So now we're going to look at the responses to that. Sorry, I forgot to share it. There we go. You can see it yourselves. Stop sharing. Okay, let's go next. Goodbye, Obi-Wan. So if you said, I want to do it myself and learn along the way, what you should do next is contact the Digital Culture Network for free one-to-one help and support. That's what we're here for. We are here to help you learn and help you get to where you need to be. So please do get in touch and we'll help you through that. So that's your first step. Your second one is to read the follow-up resources alongside this webinar. So hopefully tomorrow you'll get an email with everything on. I've already created the content, so it's just there to go. So that will have you give you some steps. So again, asking those 3 questions, thinking about a measurement plan, about what is it you need to know, and then what is the right tool that's going to match your organization. And then how to put that in place. So I'll guide you through those things. That's what we're here to do. We'll screen share, show you how to do it. It's all quite straightforward. The second option is I want to advise my developer or agency. So firstly, contact them, Digital Culture Network, for a free one-to-one chat to define your measurement plan. So this is the thing that you need to give to your agency is go, this is what we need to know. So it might be you've got different audiences and different actions that you want people to take on your website. Are you tracking those right things? I can help with that. The Digital Culture Network can help with that. So please do get in touch. And then secondly, you guessed it, read the follow-up resources alongside the webinar. So there's going to be more about those kind of things in there as well. And then lastly, I want someone to do it for me. This is where you don't contact us. It's approach an agency or freelancers to support you. So there are a few out there already. So ones that work quite a lot in arts and culture are these ones. So we've got One Further, Substract, Super Cool, and Cog. You may already be working with them. So they are doing implementations for this type of tracking. A lot of it around Google Analytics 4, but other tools as well. And if you need freelancer support, check out the freelancer directory. So you'll find out a bit more on there. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick recap. So firstly, we looked at what is happening and why. So we looked at the different versions of Google Analytics and the changes between the two and why. Then the 3 questions: what is it you need to know? Why do you need it? And what is your organizational vision? Looping through those questions until you get to the bottom. And then for the privacy consent and compliance, we looked at the impact of privacy and the cookie banners. And there's a couple of links there to follow up on. So please do read that article from One Further. It's really good. And then we looked at the alternatives to Google Universal Analytics. So we looked at Fathom, Matomo, Plausible, and Google Analytics 4, plus Hotjar and Clarity as well. They might give you what you need. And then next steps, whether you want to do it yourself, advise somebody else, or make somebody else do it as well. So that's the end of our little chat there. And we're just going to go over to the Q&A now and just see if there's any questions, which I think there's quite a few in here. Hello, Hayden.
Hello. So we do have some questions. There's loads, there's really good ones here. So this is hopefully a nice and easy one to begin with. Is the logo the only way you can tell which version of analytics you're using as a user?
If you log into your account, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. Let me just load up the Digital Culture Network account and I'll show you. So if you've got access to analytics, the actual account itself, I'm just going to load ours up. There are 2 ways of doing it. So one is, make sure it loads. Okay, so when you log in, you won't have this many. We work with different organizations, so obviously got access to different accounts. But when you look at your account, if you click up here next to the logo, you'll see 2 things. We've named them Google Analytics 3 and Google Analytics 4. But what you'll see is one begins with UA, so that's Universal Analytics, and then it's got the number, so that's your account number. Then the other one, it will just be a number. So if it's just a number, it will be Google Analytics 4. And if it's Universal Analytics, it will begin with the UA. So that's the quickest way of checking. There are ways to check on by looking at a browser extension on your website as well. But I think that'll go there first. Give me a message if you need help identifying what you've got.
How do you know if your website uses cookies or not?
So again, you could use a browser extension. I use one called what's it called? Cookies. Edit this cookie. So if we go to a website, we'll go to the Digital Culture Network. So I've got this cookie. It's called Edit this cookie. I'm using Google Chrome here. If I click that, it will tell me what cookies are set, and there's quite a few here. So these are the things we've got is the ones with GA are Google Analytics, and then these other ones are Hotjar, HJ, and then you might have things for like Facebook and stuff like that. So if you use this tool and click it, it will give you your website and then what cookies are being tracked on there. So these are the things that should be outlined in your cookie statement for your website as well. So I'm hoping we have it all set up. Let's have a look. Cookies and privacy policy we've got down here. So we outline in here what we're tracking and what we set and why. So it's got through, we explain that Google Analytics is used and things like that. So they should be outlined there as well.
Brilliant. Does Google Analytics 4 offer heat tracking reporting?
Not heat tracking, no. So it doesn't have the ability to visualize it in that same way. You could pass that data in through events. So any interaction you want to track, you could say, if this is clicked, then pass this information into analytics. So you could do it that way, but it won't visualize it in the same way that a tool such as Hotjar or Microsoft Clarity would do.
Beautiful. We've got a couple, time for two, three more.
Yeah, okay.
Sophie, no need to cry. So we've answered that question. James is here to help you.
Oh, Sophie.
If we do jump with the Google ship, is there a way to save historical data from GA to UA? GA UA, is it simply a case of deciding what we think we'd need to look back on and downloading reports, or is there a fancier way?
That's right. Yeah. If you want to know, because it depends on what you're tracking now. If you've got certain things that you want to export, you can set the date range in Universal Analytics and then just export that specific report. So anything that you access on Universal Analytics, you can do that with. There's an option at the top to just click and export it, and it could go into an Excel spreadsheet. But you can get that data out in other ways. There's connectors for Google Sheets and things like that that can pass the information using the API. But those other tools that were looked at as well can import it en masse as well. So it will slowly just bring that data in for you.
Brilliant. Will Google Ads talk to the other tracking tools in the same way that it links to analytics? So
some can interlink and then some can't. So I've not got the full list from those options I've got there, but we can have a look at that for you. If you check it and look at the functionality, it should be in there.
All right, we're going to do the last two now, and then we're going to have to end. I wasn't clear on what we need to do by the end of June. We want to use the new Google 4. What do we need to do now?
So you'll need to create an account in Google Analytics 4, and then you'll need to get that script installed on your website. So you can ask your developers to push that in. So in the resources, I'm going to put a video in there about creating a new Google Analytics 4 account. So if you want to use that as an option, then the video will show you how to set that up. And then you'll need to have a piece of code that you'll need to then install on your website.
And the last one, I'm using GA4 already using alongside UA. Is the data I can't get from GA4 that UA has?
There are certain things that I mean, because of the way it tracks users, it's a very, very different thing. But there's certain bits of functionality that are not come over yet. So they've only just been able to do things like the site search you have on your website to track those things. So that functionality is come through now. I've not got a full list of what's the current state is, but the majority of things that you're doing now, you can do. It's just in a different way.
Okay, there is one little cheeky little one we're squeezing. Will it slow down the site if running Google Analytics 4 and Hotjar together?
No, because the way the scripts load is asynchronous, so they come in and load separately from each other. So it doesn't slow down your website, and it's just the way that the websites can now run with scripts. It used to be a problem in the past, but now it's very different.
And that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your questions, everybody. If you need support from us, please email us. It's digitalnetwork@artscouncil.org.uk. We've got our website, so that's where the resources and the recording of this will appear. And please tag us on the Twitters. We love that. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Hopefully speak to you all soon.